Thank you, folks. Please welcome back Beth Lane. I see she's coming from up there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this beautiful film with our community.
Thank you for having me. Really, Isaac approached me many months ago, and I said, I don't know when we can do it yet, but we finally found a date, and I really, really appreciate the invitation. Thank you very much.
A pleasure, a pleasure. I have so much to ask, but I also want to make our community a part of this conversation, so I'll start off with a few, and then we'll open it up. How did this start as a film for you? We know you've lived this your whole life, but when did you decide really to make a film?
You know, it's really, I love how there's synchronicity in the world and things happen in the most mysterious and extraordinary ways. Upstairs on the 7th floor right now is another Yom HaShoah presentation that is excerpts from plays that represent women in the Holocaust. And one of the plays is written by this playwright Arlene Hutton, who happened to be a playwriting teacher of mine sometime in the, I don't know, early 2000s. And it's the first time that I ever started to write about this story. And Arlene is upstairs presenting a play of hers. So it just, everything comes full circle in the most extraordinary ways. And I would say that I really began in earnest to write this film in 2017. But I've been thinking a lot more about that question. And I have a feeling that when I learned that my mom was adopted, I was 6 years old, which is the same age that she was when she came to this country. And I really think that there's something about the synchronicity and the numerology of these experiences. My mother actually also broke her neck when she was 44 years old, which is the same age that Lena was when she was murdered at Auschwitz. So there are all these little pieces that I think I've been writing this film since I was 6 years old and just didn't realize it.
And I mean, this is kind of the obvious, but I feel like it needs to be spelled out. Why do you need to tell the story? What do you want your audiences to take from this?
I mean, I think it begins from a very selfish place. When I started writing the play under Arlene's professorship, the play for me didn't get anywhere, certainly not because of her, her teaching, but because it was very self-therapeutic and it didn't feel like it was for an audience. It felt just like it was for me, and so it didn't really get anywhere. And I just would put it in a drawer. But what made me kind of really understand what it was that I needed to allow audiences to know about was in 2017, I met a descendant of Arthur Schmidt. And when that happened, it was completely the reverse shot of my experience. I was no longer thinking about me or my mother or my family. I was thinking about the risk that they took and what it must have been like for their descendants to understand their story, which incidentally, they never knew about until our family made the application to Yad Vashem to honor Arthur and Paula Schmidt as righteous among the nations. So the first time Schmidt's family knew anything at all about what they had done was when they received a letter in the mail from Yad Vashem as next of kin to receive the honor on their behalf. And that's when I realized that this isn't a story that we can just keep inside our family. It really has to be told to honor really what the Schmidts and so many other silent heroes along the way did for our family.
And one of the things I love about this film is it's about a family, but it's about so much more and resonates on so many different levels on an educational level in terms of just like learning about different personal elements of the Holocaust. I mean, just right now from that little part of the story, we have 3 different tangents that come out that can be explored in different ways. How is this film being used as an educational tool?
Well, it will be used eventually, I think, quite a bit particularly through facing history in ourselves. They're a partner right now as we will eventually develop companion curriculum, and they honored me this past February. I was the keynote speaker at their teacher symposium down in Memphis, Tennessee, and we're just waiting for all the other pieces to fall into place with where we know the film will go. I gave you all my business cards. You all have my email. Please email me. Let me know that you are here. Let me know what you think about the film, and we will add you to our newsletter. Follow us on social media, because we do have an extraordinary journey that's about to unfold in the next couple of months. I'm just not allowed to talk about it yet, but it's really terribly exciting. And when all those pieces begin to materialize, then we can get really serious about giving it away for free to educational institutions around the world. And I hope that it lives in every museum, community program, community centers, the whole purpose of why I've made this. And when we turn a profit on the film, all the money goes from the film back into the foundation, the Weber Family Arts Foundation, so we can continue to combat anti-Semitism and bigotry and hate through the arts, but specifically by telling stories of hope. And I hope that you all got that as the takeaway of this film, is a message of hope that we can rise above hatred and vitriol and continue to live wonderful lives.
Would you hide me at gmail.com? I love that.
That's right.
Nobody took that?
I know, right?
I'll ask one more question, then we'll turn it over to the audience. But of course, this beautiful message of life that I think is there at the end is so powerful. It brings me to tears every time. This concept of how this this army that has come from 7 people who were saved, and I'm curious to your family's reaction to all of this.
I mean, they are over the moon about it. They are so happy that one of us had the resources between being in theater and then in film, and just knowing who to tap. I think if there's one thing that I can, I guess, think about in terms of what I did, is I made sure I hired people around me who were so much smarter and had so much more experience than I had, so that we could actually tell it in a way that had the integrity that I felt the story deserved. And I think they all knew I was kind of up to something, but didn't really realize that I think we made a contender. What do you think? I mean, I think we've been selling out houses all over the place. We've been winning awards. It's really been an extraordinary journey. I feel like it's so much more, it's beyond me and it's beyond our family. It has a life of its own. I'm thrilled to be here tonight, but I don't have to be with the film anymore. Like, the film stands on its own, and I think they all really feel like their story's been treasured, and they're very grateful, which is a good feeling.
It's beautiful. We have a microphone here, and we could pass it to those who wait patiently with their hand up.
Wonderful, wonderful film. You're to be greatly commended. I saw in the credits there's something called the Weber Family Arts Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So the Weber Family Arts Foundation is what I was referencing just before, and we don't have any investors in the film, so I don't have to pay anybody when we turn a profit. But I established the foundation so that wonderful friends like you, I'm lucky I still have friends and family talking to me, because I've been hitting them up for the last 6.5 years to donate, and the foundation was established so that it would be a nonprofit, so that people could donate and still get a tax write-off if they so chose. But the foundation is specifically designed to combat anti-Semitism and bigotry and hate through the arts by telling stories of hope. UnBroken is our first project, but I've already found the next project that I want to give seed money to. It's another filmmaking team. These marvelous guys made this short film, a Jewish filmmaker and a black filmmaker, and they came together to make a film called You Will Not Replace Us. So we've already started to think about who else can, whether it's a filmmaker or a painter or a poet or a dancer. I'd like to be able to continue to contribute to other people's their stories of hope. Thank you for asking.
pass it on, please. Wonderful film, and it shows really what we in Judaism believe. You know, you save one life, you know, and what it could lead to. I have a question, though, having been a student of this area for many years. I did not see any child or any adult wearing a Jewish star. Were these children all considered Mishling?
Technically, they are considered Mishling. However, they did have to wear Jewish stars. And Gertrude actually talks about it in one of the scenes. They had to wear them, and as soon as they would leave school, they would actually take them off so that they wouldn't get bullied in the streets. But yes, they did have to wear them. A Mishling is, it's what the Nazis considered mixed blood. That's what it means, mixed blood. And because Alexander was Catholic and Lena was Jewish, even though he converted, they were still technically considered Mishling. However, they wore Jewish stars because Alexander did not, on paper, leave the Jewish faith until after, I think 1941 is when he finally left the Jewish faith on paper to protect the family.
Here, we have the microphone coming. No, we need the microphone for accessibility purposes.
So thank you so much. Such a beautiful film. And I'm sure many people felt very connected to your aunts and your mother. Can you share the status of your aunts and your mom?
Well, I began making the film after my Uncle Alphonse died. That was a big impetus as to why I chose to make it and when I started. And soon after, when I began photography in the summer of 2018, my Aunt Senta was in hospice. And when I went to ask my cousin Jimmy, can we film? And he said no. And I said, well, let's not leave the cameras at home. Can I come and visit? And he said no. And I just felt so sad that I wasn't able to communicate with her. But don't you know that woman insisted and made sure that cousin Jimmy wrote me a check to give me some seed money to start the film from her hospice bed. Then I was thrilled that I was able to interview Ruth. We lost Ruth a year ago in May. Aunt Renee, we lost the year before that, but at least we got some of Aunt Renee in here with us. Aunt Gertrude is 94. And I just got a text from her daughter saying, what do you mean the Highland Park showing on June 8th is sold out? Gertrude's best friend needs a ticket. So she's still pretty with it. And I'll find her a ticket. And my Aunt Judith is still very much alive and well in the state of Texas. And my mom is 84, and she's just a fighting champ and ain't going anywhere.
There's a question up there.
Hi. I'm the son of a Holocaust survivor who grew up in Eastern Europe. So obviously this story is very meaningful to me. And he was the only person in his immediate family to survive, one of 8, including his parents. Do you have a sense of, or in your research, any connection to your mother's original family in Hungary and what happened to them, or any idea of what happened in their experience?
I do. My Uncle Alphonse tried to do that research, and it was really pre-internet, so he didn't get very far. And when we began our research, I picked up where he left off, and this extraordinary historian and archivist in Hungary, Peter Absalon, came on and helped, and he found all of Lena's siblings' birth certificates. He found these photographs of Lena's parents and their marriage certificate, and I think death certificates. There are photos of their graves. I'm fairly certain that her parents, I'd have to look at the records again, it's been a while, but her parents died before they were deported. But I also believe that half of her siblings were deported. And there are still, I have relatives, I've only met one of them so far. I have a relative in Brooklyn who came to our screening in New York last November at Doc NYC when we premiered, so that was pretty exciting meeting him in person. And I've also met another relative on Zoom she was Lena's niece, and she lives right outside of Jerusalem with her daughter and son. So I've started to try and put some of the pieces together of that side of the family. And I have also met some of Alexander's side of the family as well, and they're just wonderful, wonderful people. Keep digging. You'll find them. Keep digging.
We're going to take the last two questions here.
Thank you so much for this wonderful work. I thought the animation was so inspired, and I'd like to ask where the idea came from. And I mean, it just, it's so stirring and beautiful, and of course makes up for the more than makes up for the lack of the actual photos. It allows us to fill in the color ourselves. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that you feel that way. My dear friend Melissa Leon, who runs a company called Misfit, was the art director for all of the animation, and she did just an extraordinary job. She had many artists, I believe in the Philippines, drawing for us, and it was hands down probably the hardest part of the process. No question about it. I think we have close to 9 minutes of animation in the film. That's a lot of animation. But the inspiration, this is my directorial debut. I've never made a movie before. Thank you. And I had no idea how I was going to make it. I just knew one day I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to stop until it's finished. But I didn't even have an artistic vision. I didn't have anything. But thank goodness.
Not supposed to admit these things in front of the audience.
I didn't. But you steal from the very best, right? So thank goodness I was enrolled in graduate school in between my second and third year. I was getting my Master of Fine Arts in Theater. I thought I was going to be a theater professor. And so I went running back to campus, and this is after I met Arthur Schmidt's Descendant, and I said, I've got to make this movie. Will you help me? And so the doc professors helped me get ready. And she's like, well, what's your vision? I'm like, I don't have a vision. But I try and take in a lot of content. And I saw this New York Times doc, a 15-minute doc. You can find it on YouTube, called I Have a Message for You, by this beautiful filmmaker, Matan Roschiltz. And it had the most gorgeous animation in it. And it was about a Holocaust survivor. And I thought, now I know what to do. I didn't use his animation or his style of animation, but it gave me permission and license. I was so worried about doing anything that might trivialize the Holocaust. And in the beginning, when I would pitch the idea of animation to people, they were like, I don't think you're, and I'm like, just trust me. I know we can get this right. So I'm really thrilled to hear that you think we got it right.
We got one last question over here.
I'll meet you guys out on the hallway too, so.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for making this film. And I think seeing it now is especially meaningful. As I was coming over from Broadway, there were the pictures of the hostages on the post. And I always cry when I touch them, and I cry. And when I looked at your grandmother's picture, she was so beautiful. And my heart just went out to her. I was in Warsaw as a baby when the Germans bombed. And we got out, but most of the family were murdered. And when I see on TV now how much we're hated, it just beyond understanding. After all this time, they still hate us so much. And I hope there will be good ones who will help us. We'll remain unbroken.
Did you hire her to speak at every screening?
Please, you must come with us.
Folks, I want to thank you for being a part of this. Thank you so much for sharing and being here with us. And you could check, so if you didn't get the Unbroken card, you could grab it outside for more info, and I'm sure Beth will be available to you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.